For those of you that have been in programs with me or been around when I'm asked to speak, this will seem like a fairly common refrain. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I have lots of things that I would like to say. I have a few things that I would hope that you would hear. I'll get that out of the way right now, and then I'll spend the rest of my time trying to speak to that just a little bit. That your life matters. That your life matters to the past and all of the ancestors that preceded us, that created the conditions in which you could be here right now. That you could have the life that you have. We owe such a debt of gratitude to all that came before us that made possible this life that we have. That your life matters right now because for the most part, I think most of you in the room are, over the age of 16. Some of us a little bit further over the age of 16 than others. And those human beings depend on you and us and all of us to be present and create the conditions in which they can find their life and their life that matters. And the future probably has the biggest stake in this. Because you've heard in various ways from the very beginning, from the opening video of the team, and what we've tried to put into the world and what we've tried to say, that this is an ongoing, evolving process, a very dynamic, evolving process that was all set in motion by something that we will probably not understand fully in this lifetime, so it takes an act of faith just to go with the flow of development. But it isn't that flow of development that we have a part to play. I had something that I was going to say when I opened. That's the takeaway. Now I'll try to back into that. I'll back into that with something that was wonderful and heartbreaking at the same time, and it happened just before lunch. And this is not something I had planned to say or to talk about, but it feels relevant. For those that know me, not many know me well, but there are a handful that know me. And I would say, what I'm about to say next, and most don't actually believe that it's true, that I'm very shy. I know I picked the wrong profession because I'm often standing in front of people in various configurations. I'm very shy, and I have a deep sort of grounded introversion property about me. So that makes me typically kind of the quietest guy in a big group like this. It also makes me feel just a little bit uneasy. And if I have to try to do something to speak about something that I don't really feel in my heart and my bones of bones, I just can't do it. Which is to say, I can't do it not because I don't have the technical skills to do it. I can't do it because I can't find my voice. I can't find what I really deeply care about, what I'm moved by. So one of the ways that I calm myself is I go for a walk, and I went for a walk. And if you've not seen it, when you walk out the hotel in the front, right, and it might not be there when we're gone later this afternoon because of the timing of the day, but there's a park. It's a park. It's a children's play park. And I happened to see, there were a bunch of kids, probably 75 to 100 kids out there playing, and I thought, I'm gonna go watch those kids play. And I sat down into a little chair, just probably 30, 40 feet away from the area in which they're playing. And there are literally, as far as I could tell, every race, color, etc. on the planet was right there. It was amazing. And they were so engaged in just joyful play. You know what that's like, right? When you see children just like joyfully playing, like completely unaware of anything else going on, just how immersed they are in the moment of just being alive. Vid and I have a fondness for seeing children at play and using that as a way of talking to the adults, really just big children masquerading as adults that we lead through the ALP from time to time. That would include some of you. I'm not saying that all of you are children, but there's probably more than a few children in the room, including this one. So I took a little 10-second video, and I was typing in Vid's name and just to send it away, and 2 police officers came up to me. this didn't occur to me, right? It's like I was engaged in the joy, and they go, "Sir, we need to see your phone." And I said, "You need to see? Well, okay. You can't. You can't take pictures of kids." And I thought, like a range of emotions. I felt a little bit of shame, like, oh, I should have known that. Of course, that makes perfect sense. And then I felt umbrage, like, what the F, right? These kids are just having fun, and I'm sharing some of the joy of life. And I thought, oh, that's like, my heart hurts, because the world that we live in has created the conditions in which watching children at play in the joy of life is not shareable except when you're right there. Like, what is that? What kind of world do we live in where that's not okay? And that's just one example, but that's like a super potent example. So much so that 5 minutes before I walked out here, I'm up in the the get ready room and just kind of bear a little bit of the soul and my experience of living sometimes. I had to have a cry. I had to talk to Vid. I just need to cry. I really don't want to go do what I'm going to go do next, right? Because that out there, like what happened, and just watching children play joyfully, seemingly unaware of anything else in the world that's going on, all the nonsense that we get fed in the news. You don't see that on the news, because what we get fed by the media and the conversations that we get in are designed to provoke outrage or umbrage or separation, and we're busy just creating these tribal conditions in which we are separating into smaller, narrower tribes where there's a values test that says, if you're going to be part of us, you have to do this, you have to believe this, and you have to believe this, and that's a narrowing down of the human potential and what's possible. Those kids are alive with the full potential of life and what's available to them. And yet we get into this, and this is a wonderful space. But that was an amazing space. You get the difference, right? This is wonderful. It's wonderful that all of you are here. It's wonderful that you care about each other. It's wonderful that you care about us. It's wonderful that as leaders, you're doing something, I think, to improve and develop yourself, and by extension, those of others. And that's amazing. So how do we do more of that? Right? How do we do more of that and create the conditions in which that kind of joyful playfulness can come into a life, can come into our lives, and can come into the lives around us? We have to be different, all of us. We have to grow up in some very particular and specific ways. This talk, which I'm just going to warn everybody in advance, I got 7 minutes. I'm not going to get done in 7 minutes. I'm going to talk for as much as I need to talk here, because there's something that's populated and I want to try to say to you. We don't have the option as human beings of staying in the status quo. It's not good enough. It's not good enough because the past, our ancestors bequeathed so much to us. They invested so much. Evolution, God, the universe, everything that created this little small blue, pale blue dot in the middle of a cosmic void circling a bright star that has the perfect conditions for all of us to be here. All of that is some kind of miracle beyond miracles that we inherited. It's not enough to enjoy that inheritance. And in fact, it's amoral at best and immoral at worst, right? To merely enjoy the fruits and the bounty. None of us are the sole creators of our success, nor of the failures. That we're part of this very significant and specific play that's unfolding. 4 years ago, I went off and started doing a deep dive research project, kind of in the vein of Good to Great by Jim Collins. And I was going to make the business case for development. You've heard enough of that, right? There's a business case for your own development and a business case for developing others. Then research is pretty clear on that. But here's the problem with doing that kind of thing. It's twofold. Problem one, Jim Collins, Good to Great, early 90s. Anybody read that book? How about his follow-up book in the early 2000s? How the Mighty Fall. Same companies, like, what's that about? Well, the thing that's about is context sensitivity to ideas and thoughts that work today but don't work tomorrow. They're not timeless, they're time-bound. They're time-bound to a specific context, and it's mostly about frameworks, thoughts, and models and things that you can do. So what's timeless? We said it in the opening video. Goodness. truth, and beauty. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, right? Beauty, the experience of beauty is in each of us, and each of us has a different experience of beauty. Truth. Truth is what is real. How do we decide what is real? In a post-truth world where we live today, what's true? How do you find true? You got to find true with others, but if we have cordoned off and sectioned the world into you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong, or this is left and this is right, and evil is this, and etc., then we don't have a way into the conversation around what's good. Because what's good is also context sensitive, but it's timeless as well. Those three values, goodness, truth, and beauty, are the timeless values that were passed down from the Greeks and probably before that. And all the way through the major religions today, you can see that shot through. So what is goodness? Goodness is in some sense what we collectively come to agree on that's fundamental right now, that matters, but not just for right now, that matters for the future. 1997, we're living in London, and I had been on a path where I was kind of kicking the can, down the road just a little bit of this deny, avoid, accept challenge. And I was, I had a good life. Living in London was my wife's all-time favorite place to be. And it's late August night. She's in bed, asleep next to me, and I'm reading. I'm a typical serial or parallel reader, and I was reading a book of poems. I've shared this in this context before, but it's relevant to something that I want to offer you. I knew that I was getting near a decision point where I would accept, the conditions in which I would go off and essentially do what I do today in the world. I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't have an exact time frame, but I was imagining, it's 5-7 years from now, kind of finish this whole partner thing and do my gig, and then right off into the sunset with everything sorted, and then I can go kind of live my life. And I happened to be reading that night a book of poems, and the poem in particular was one from Robert Frost called Two Tramps in Mud Time. And at the end of the poem, and it's a conversation about work and life and joy and what's right, etc. And Frost, has this stanza. He says, but yield who will to their separation. My object in living is to unite my vocation and my avocation, what I get paid to do and what I love to do. Yield who will to their separation. My object in living is to unite my vocation and my avocation. Just as my two eyes make one in sight, stereo vision, my two eyes, and I see one thing. Just as my two eyes make one in sight, only where love and need are one. And the work is play. Work is play. For mortal stakes, it matters. Is the deed ever really done for heaven's and the future's sake? And it was that moment that I accepted the challenge. And within 3 months, I completely washed out of Anderson and got on this path. It just unfolded. This is the accept part of the challenge. And that required a letting go of certainty, a letting go of notions of success, a letting go of I'll be all right if. Instead, it was yes to I've been called into something. I couldn't point to it. I couldn't exactly see it. And as Saint-Antoine de Saint-Exupéry said in The Little Prince, it is only with the heart. It is only with the heart that one can see. It is only with the heart that one can see. What is essential is invisible to the eye. That's also a call to faith. Whatever your faith might be, that's a call to faith. You don't get to have proof that what you've been called into will come into being. It doesn't work that way. So what can you do? You can look around you and you can ask, what does the world need? We're trying to offer you a point of view up here that is essentially an I-based point of view, a reality. Here's a truth that we think that we've discovered in 25 years. But when you're talking to each other in here, and for those of you that have done development work with your people and your employees, it is not the output. I would suggest that you search for this in yourself. It is not the output or the productivity or the doubling or the tripling of revenue. All that may or may not happen. There's no guarantee that when you start this development process that it happens. But when you talk to human beings where you've cared in the way that most of you that have children care about your children today and their futures, when people feel cared about in that way, They're liberated. They're allowed to grow into whatever they're here to grow into. Because here's a founding truth. All of you are here. Everyone that you know right now that's still alive is here. Everyone that you know right now that's alive, that's still here, is in some way, shape, or form, or fashion attempting to live a life that they can grow into, to be the life that they came into this life to live. I've said it before. You're trying to do something with life, your life, but your life is trying to do something with you. It's asking something of you. It cares about something that you have to put in. Whether it's 10,000 years or 14 plus billion years or whatever it is, length of time before you showed up in this place, there was a lot that happened to make you possible. You were a function of the universe, God, the creator, dumbass luck, chance. I don't know what it is. I'm agnostic at this point. It's too big for me to actually know. I can just submit. I can surrender. I can just say, I'm here for something. I'm not going to try to be present to that. So what's the moral case? The moral case is to find your heart, to find what you care deeply about and express that in such a way that it invites others to find themselves, to create the conditions in which the human beings around you can rise to the occasion of their aspirations in an unencumbered way, just like those kids across the street, wherever that is from here, over there, I think, just like those children, unencumbered in play. If we were to do that as adults, what about all the nonsense that we're in goes away? Think about that. If we, in this little, tiny little section of the world, right here in Dallas, Texas, with all of you, if we started doing something that demonstrated to the world that caring about the development of others created the conditions in which human beings could rise to the level of their life and their aspirations, what happens? Most of the problems that we have today dissolve in the light of that growth. Most of the problems that we have today are limited, narrow, small minds, closed hearts. Find your heart. I was terrified that I was going to come out here and just not be able to speak and just cry, because that's really how I felt 10 minutes ago. It was painful. It was painful to have that experience, but it was a potent reminder that what we're doing matters. And we can never be completely certain. And even as I stand here right now talking to you about the moral case and about why this matters, I have my own insecurities and uncertainties. I'm going to leave you with a mashup of two poems. I'm going to try to recite one, then I'm going to read one, but I'm going to ask you just to close your eyes. I'm going to lead you through something here. Alejandro did a wonderful job of leading us through a Buddhist meditation and orientation and centering. I'm going to give you a slightly Western angle into the same thing, and this comes from the work of the Heart Math Institute. And it's about coherence, and it's about aligning your head and your heart. You start by just noticing you're listening to me, and as I'm talking, you're having thoughts. Just notice that you're thinking. Just notice that you're processing what I say, and you're thinking. Now, in just a second, I'm going to ask you to make a shift, and at the end of the shift, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go into the poems. I want you to keep your eyes closed, but I'd like you to listen to me from this place of your heart. So, you're thinking. You can, with just a modest amount of attentional effort, point your attention at your heart. So just, some of you, you might need to feel your heart with your hand over your chest. Some of you can just feel it straight away. But just put your hand or your attention on your heart and just feel your heart. While you feel your heart, I'd like you to try to bring to mind a memory. It could be recent, it could be past. A memory of a very positive emotion. Joy, wonder, happiness, excitement. It could be with your children. It could be with friends. It could be with a spouse. It could be in nature. Just a very positive memory. Just hold that memory in your thought and continue to focus on the feeling in your heart. And you can deepen this just by imagining that feeling getting stronger. Gratitude is a powerful, powerful antidote to cynicism, And if you wish, with your eyes remain closed, a mashup of two poems. I'll do my best to recite one. I will definitely read the other. O me, O life, of the questions of these recurring, of the endless trains of the faithless and of cities filled with the foolish, of myself forever reproaching myself. For who more foolish than I? And who more faithless? What good are these questions, O me, O life? Forever sad and recurring. The answer, that you are here, that you are here, that life exists and identity, that the powerful play goes on, the powerful play goes on, and you and you and you and all of us may contribute a verse, not collective verse, contribute a verse. So ready or not, someday this will all come to an end. There'll be no more sunrises, no minutes, no hours or days. All the things you've collected, whether treasured or forgotten, will pass to someone else. Your wealth, fame, temporal power will shrivel to irrelevance. It will not matter what you owed or what you owned. Your grudges, resentments, frustrations, and jealousies will finally disappear. And so too will your hopes, ambitions, plans, and to-do lists. The wins and losses that once seemed so important will fade away. It won't matter where you came from or from what side of the tracks you lived on at the end. It won't matter whether you were beautiful or brilliant, or rich or famous or obscure. Even your gender and skin color will be irrelevant. So what will matter? How will the values of your days be measured? What will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity and compassion and courage and sacrifice that enriched and empowered others to emulate your example. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is not how many people you knew, but how many people will feel a lasting loss when you're gone. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories that live on in those who have loved you. What will matter is how long you'll be remembered, by whom and for what. Living a life of matter is not an accident. It's a matter of choice. You are here. Life exists in identity. The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be? Thank you for listening. Please choose wisely. I love you all, and I love this community. Thank you.